The session will intricately examine the fintech revolution that is fundamentally altering the way payments are conducted, employing virtual credit cards as a pivotal instrument. Additionally, the session will investigate the profound impact of these intensive solutions to UPI transactions, elevating user interactions and forging novel opportunities within the payment sector. A warm welcome to all our joinees. We are about to begin the session. I request everyone to please settle down. Let us learn more about disrupting the payment landscape, creating virtual cards linked to UPI that will redefine the credit card industry. And we have our respected speakers, Ipsita Soor, in charge of Emerging Fintech's National Payments Corporation of India, and Mohit Bedi, co-founder GoKiwi. Please put your hands together for our lovely lady to lead you forward.
So, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow enthusiasts of the fintech revolution, I welcome you all to today's session on a topic which is redefining the very foundation of our financial world. So, in an era where there's a constant tussle among issuers and credit card partners on which one will be the top of the wallet card for the consumer, by offering the most differentiated reward points, spend points, and cashbacks, today's discussion couldn't have been more relevant. So, CC on UPI is envisaged to not just change the way a customer transacts, but also the way we perceive a credit card. So, I hope you are as excited as I am to embark on this educational journey. So, without much further ado, I would like to shed some light on some of the key business problems that CC on UPI is envisaged to solve for the credit card industry. Before I hand over the session to the very well-known stalwart, Mr. Mohit Bedi from the credit card industry for a deep dive session based on his experiences. So, CC on UPI was basically launched in the GFF of 2022, September 2022. It had a stellar launch by the RBI governor. And we've come a long way since then. And about 98% of consumers, rather issuers, acquirers, and apps covering 98% of consumers have already gone live with CC on UPI. In fact, this CC on UPI is about to, it opens up the market to 10x the size of the traditional credit card by augmenting the acceptance infrastructure which has been there for the traditional credit cards acceptance. So the four business problems that I'm going to briefly touch upon are one, issuance, second, distribution, third, the customer experience or the life cycle management, and fourth is the costs, in general, acquisition costs and multiple other costs. So the first one being the activation. Now, in April of 2022, RBI announced its master guidelines on the way the credit card and debit card should be issued and behave. And these guidelines say, and I quote, card issuers shall seek one-time password-based consent from the cardholder for activating a credit card if the same has not been activated by the consumer for more than 30 days from the date of issuance. If no consent is received for activating the card issuers shall close the credit card account without any cost to the customer within 7 working days from date of seeking confirmation from the customer. Now, one of the major problems of the credit card industry has been the activation, the high percentage of dormant cards. And it's not just about the activation stats, but also the fact that each, dormant card is a hanging cost for the issuer to, to continue bearing the costs. The issuer has to absolutely, continue to pay the costs, say about 3,000 to 5,000 per card on a portfolio level to maintain the card. So there's no real predictable revenue as far as dormant cards are concerned. Now, once these guidelines came into effect, we saw a massive culling of credit cards and a tremendous increase in the activation to the tune of about 10 to 15%. Now, the CC on UPI, it solves for this problem of activation. Customers now have more avenues to make spends because of the wider acceptance. So as per the RBI data of July, there are about 280 million POS QRs compared to 8 million POS machines in the market. The second problem that it solves is the problem of distribution. Now, the credit card industry has mainly been centered in the urban geographies. About the top 15 cities contribute to 85% of the issuance. By comparison, the UPI has a much wider acceptance and a much wider penetration. Now, two of the major reasons for the low penetration of credit card are: one, there is a lack of awareness on the benefits of credit card and the responsible usage of credit card, and two is the acceptance infrastructure of credit card. So basically, in tier 2 and 3 cities, 2, 3, and 4 cities, I mean, the credit card penetration is more than just about underwriting. So, I mean, there is a huge untapped population in these geographies which are ready, I mean, which issuers would love to issue a credit card to, but they are not ready because they do not have the necessary awareness and they do not have the infrastructure and the avenues where they feel they can spend. So obviously, CC on UPI intends to solve this problem. The third business problem that it solves is, of course, the customer experience and the life cycle management. So the CC on UPI is expected to revolutionize the holistic experience of a customer. So imagine, I mean, visualize this right from applying for a card to issuance of a card to setting up of limits, activating card not present transactions, maybe converting transactions to EMIs, and finally making the bill payment and collections. The entire life cycle can be managed within this app. So, of course, a big mindset, a big change, a big paradigm shift will happen in terms of the customer experience. And the last business problem that I want to touch upon is the acquisition, I mean, the costs in general. So, I mean, in the credit card industry, the costs are multifaceted. Some of the tangible costs are the cost of production and distribution, which we call the acquisition cost. And the other intangible costs are your cost of customer service, your cost of fraud management, and your cost of this tech infrastructure. So obviously, by issuing virtual cards, the tangible cost can be eliminated completely or significantly reduced depending on how much of the portfolio is virtual or physical. And by issuing virtual cards, again, card in the app, it significantly brings down the fraud risk and the fraud risk management cost, because the cards can be secured in better ways when it's inside the app. So on this note, I would like to request Mr. Mohit Bedi to take the stage and do a deep dive on how he is spearheading the CC on UPI revolution from the fintech perspective.
Thanks a lot. So I'll try and deep dive into some numbers so that at least you can see what's happening in the CC on UPI industry. We'll just go through this and see the experience of virtual card, how it is shaping up the industry. And then we'll try and take some questions. I think it'll sum up everything. So let's see the payment story so far. And there are a lot of fintech and bankers here. There are a lot of my colleagues here as well. The cards industry is growing at a rate of approximately 33%, correct? And this is the regular post-terminal transactions or online transactions that are happening. But this should move. Yeah. Yeah. So what basically CC on UPI does is captures the P2M market. P2M market is, I'm sure in layman terms, is wherever a card is accepted by a valid merchant of a UPI QR, correct? And that's where CC on UPI can get used. But it won't get used between friends. So this is the P2M market, which is growing at a ratio of 60% so far. And it is going to grow faster, much faster than your POS terminal or payment gateways market. But what is credit on UPI market? Now, I'll put two axes to it. One is the spends, basically, that you see on credit card. This is purely plastic card market. And left is the customers, 3.5 crore customers, which are unique users. We all know each customer has 2.5, 3 cards per customer. We've absolutely bastardized the credit card market as bankers. But this is the market right now. But what we are expecting in credit on UPI is that this market is 2.5x on both the tangents. Just imagine the size of market on credit on UPI. And obviously, this market is, sorry, I'm audible, right? Yeah, so just imagine the size of the market is lot dependent on geographies, what can you underwrite, is there a different underwriting standard, etc. But getting everything cumulated, there is a 2.5 times market waiting on both the tangents on credit on UPI. So let's dwell, where is this market coming from? Obviously, this data is again publicly available data. It's just that how do you want to read this data? We know there is PhonePe new users growth is coming from tier 3 to 6 market. SBI research says volumes also is coming from semi-urban, right? Semi-urban plus rural. That's the market where SBI is seeing their market coming from. And where are the active internet users coming from? Now, when you sum it up, what do you realize is that there is a transaction demand. We all keep fighting in, let's say, top 8 metros as far as credit cards is concerned. Or even fintechs probably go to tier 2, tier 3, right? But actual growth, when you sum up both the slides, is going to come from tier 3 to 6 market is where we are expecting. And that market is all about cost management, correct? So, okay, this is the traditional card market right now. Again, this is RBI available data. There is 4% penetration in the market. Right now, CC accounts, if you see, is concentrated towards metro market. This is, again, RBI available data. There is a lot of angles around it. I mean, there are bankers around us. I have fellow colleagues here. There are reasons why it is that's happening, because there is a delivery mechanism, logistics issue. You need to get the card out in 5 to 7 days. There are various reasons around it. All of us know, I mean, there are fintech players also. Any bank you deal with, they give you a serviceable PIN code list. I mean, we keep fighting with them कि ये यार ये इसको खोल दो भगवान के लिए एक और PIN code यहाँ मेरा दोस्त रहता है. So that is a constant challenge, and that's why there is a limitation of the markets you can reach out to in a purely credit card market. And that's where actually me and Ipsita are trying to tell you why are we limited to traditional processes. And that's where CC on UPI brings in everything, cost management as well as better customer experience, right? So I won't take a lot of time. Right now, if you want to enter the UPI ecosystem, credit on UPI ecosystem, so I'll quickly take you through it, considering paucity of time. A card holder, let's say, most of you would be having HDFC Neo, Tata Neo card, let's say. I have a HDFC colleague sitting here. I'm trying to impress him to open more PIN codes, but that's a separate discussion. So let's say he wants to apply for a Tata Neo card. He goes to HDFC. There's a sales guy who comes. He issues him a RuPay credit card, correct? That RuPay credit card comes to activate it. He goes back to HDFC app, activates it, waits for the PIN to come with the card. Then he goes to Google Pay, PhonePe, Bheem, and attaches his card, correct? Enters the PIN, because there is a PIN number you need to enter the UPI ecosystem. Now, whole process is a 8 to 9 days process, right? This is the physical card management process. But what are we trying to envisage for, or what are we trying to do? And I have my colleagues here. Siddharth and Anup should be here. Actually, and this should work, yeah. So what we think is that ideally a TPAP or a fintech player, whichever way you want to see it, should link with the bank, issue the card, get the card automatically linked, not wait for the physical card, correct? And everything should be integrated in that one fintech platform is what we are trying to say. You let the fintech issue the card, link the card, don't wait for the physical plastic. There is SIM binding in it. I mean, I don't know how many of my TPAP colleagues are here, but there is SIM binding around it. Just issue the card, virtual card in 2-3, I mean, maximum 30 minutes to 2 hours is ideally how it should be happening. And that eliminates your entire need of PIN code management, your activation, as Ipsita was saying, which as per NPCI, they are seeing a much different activation management around it. So what's, post that journey, what is in it for? There are 4 players in the ecosystem, right? In the credit card ecosystem. One is obviously the card issuer, right? When we were back calculating amongst us, between me, Anup and Siddharth, and my colleagues here, we were seeing at least there is a 200-250 rupee delivery cost of plastic, right? There is Blue Dart, RTO management. Anybody who's been in the card industry, just 11% RTO management is a task by itself. We actually went to banks, presented them that there is at least 120 crores save in their P&L just by virtual card issuance. That, and besides the activation, etc., that Ipsita was referring to. For user, obviously, it's a cardless journey. There is the transaction gets supported not only on POS terminal, on your QR terminals, etc., everywhere. For merchants, obviously, they don't need electricity now, correct? They just need a QR. It's such a beautiful interface. The infrastructure has been developed by Google Pay, PhonePe, Bharat Pay, Bhim, banks, Canara Bank also now is actively promoting QR. There is Axis Bank promoting their own QR. The infrastructure is awesome now. So that itself, without electricity, no additional cost, Soundbox just takes it to the next level, right? But, sorry. And obviously, we added a flavor of environment. We had to, right? Because we are an environment-friendly company as well. So there is obviously, there is no need of plastic, right? The physical plastic. There is no need of terminals. Why do you need terminals? I've headed acquiring business for 4-5 years, and I have my acquiring folks also here. I keep telling them that sooner or later, even terminals should vanish ideally if this ecosystem works without a physical plastic. So I'm just trying to reinforce what actually NPCI managed to create, right? From a 2 crore POS business, if you move to virtual cards, you have a 27 crores UPI terminal business. 93% Aadhaar saturation, you can actually do KYC of customers. That's the biggest challenge we all face, and there is a digitization of KYC effort that is happening. There are efforts around Sehmati, etc., everything that is taking place. The infrastructure will build around it. And obviously, there is active internet users, right? This is expected to go to 90 crores. I am sure there are a couple of my colleagues, Priya and Little here, they will be realizing that everybody is taking snaps of the beautiful slides they've made for us. So macroeconomic implication, obviously P2M is your critical infrastructure development that is happening, and that's the growth rate we are envisaging, right? P2M right now is around 40% of your UPI transactions, correct? We expect this to go to 60% as per what we are seeing now. In Kiwi, we are processing close to 1.2 crores to 1.5 crore transactions. So we have significant data to say that this is working. So macroeconomic, and this should work. Yeah. And there is obviously financial inclusion. As I said, we are going to tier 3, tier 6, etc. And so that I think I don't. Sorry, this is an old slide. What I will do is, this is the digital onboarding journey, and this is the linking of UPI journey that we had. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but this basically is what we are doing right now. We are only issuing virtual cards. We are working with various banks around it. The journey is working seamlessly. We've been able to get more tier 3 to 6 customers. There is a lot happening around virtual card on credit on UPI. And that's the whole point, that more and more banks, fintechs who can join the bandwagon and leverage the infrastructure. I think it's a beautiful place to play in. So that was about it. And I'll be happy to take questions because this should work. Yeah. Ipsita, you want to? There are questions coming up. So Ipsita is partner. So I don't know, how does this work? You raise questions, you can ask questions.
To him.
Yeah.
Do you have a collection risk if you're taking those virtual card without a PIN card?
So Ipsita, I think, gave that answer. There is an auto pay mechanism that UPI already has. So unlike a credit card transactions, which has MAD, TAD, etc., everything, there is a UPI auto pay product, which is a beautiful product. It is how you see, there are jigsaw pieces there in the market. It's just about how you want to use it in your ecosystem. And UPI AutoPay is a very estimated product, if that is a better way.
So it's been actually approved by. Yeah, up to the tune of 15,000, you do not need a PIN. More than that, I mean, the daily limit, of course, is 1 lakh, and more than that, 15,000 you'll need.
Yeah. It's democracy.
And we are looking at inbuilding all these various payment methods, because what's important for us is the subsequent events that come, right?
Correct.
And we've been toying with this UPI auto pay, and 15,000 limit is what we were stuck with, because our ticket size, average ticket size is much higher. So what we're talking about is up to 15,000, it is without the PIN. But when it goes beyond 15, up to a sum of 1 lakh, the customer needs to have a PIN the way I have a PIN for UPI, and the transaction is happening. So that's right.
Yeah. So that as of now is a mandate.
Yeah, in fact, we can connect specific to the insurance segment.
Use cases.
I mean, how, this auto pay can be of use in your segment based on the the recurring nature of it's an annual payment or, monthly payment. We can connect on that
Yeah, yeah.
separately. Ma'am, I'll connect.
So, initial line assignment,
Yeah.
is it the responsibility of the bank or you guys?
So the regulation says if all policy underwriting book is of the bank. We are enablers. Just look at us, or any fintech is an enabler. As per RBI mandate, all policy underwriting needs to be managed by the bank. That's how tech savvy the bank is.
No, but how, what ranges are these initial lines assigned?
So right now, the range is anywhere between 1 to 1.5 lakh on an average, which is the average credit card limit. So आप जो market में credit card average limit.
Is this end use specific for, let's say, buying a consumer durable?
No.
Or is it like a revolving?
It's absolutely like a credit card with 15 days interest-free credit and reward points, and it has like RBI 3 days.
Point does the credit card number get extinguished?
That is a industry-wide issue because there is so this is a 6 series. Right now this our RuPay card is a 6 series card. So all card numbers that start with 6 are basically RuPay cards. And right now the penetration is, let's say, around 3 to 5% of credit.
Yeah, 5 to 6.
5 to 6%. And I don't think that series is going to likely exhaust anytime soon.
As a borrower, if you get a number assigned and you can, let's say, use a revolving line, how long, is it like a credit card with an expiration date or is it perpetual?
It's perpetual. It is like a line which it's like a credit card. There's nothing different. It's a credit card expiry. That's a regular product expiry. But even on renewal, your card number remains the same. Most of the bankers here would agree with me.
Same bin as
Yeah.
I have one question. So we have this card present transaction, which essentially is e-com, which essentially is POS and ATM as well, right?
Yeah.
So in case of virtual card and UPI being present, will this also get eventually enabled, or as of now it is enabled for cash withdrawal, whichever is allowed on the?
So I think UPI just launched the cash withdrawal UPI facility. That's what I'm saying. See, UPI or NPCI, not UPI, has so many products in its kitty. It's like a directory. You need to realize that which product works where. Problem is there's so many products that people haven't been able to get their head around which to use what. And that's where the trick lies. So you need to know and execute is where, and that I think is something you'll have to work with the NPCI folks. They're the smartest folks in the industry right now.
What will happen with your TAM estimates of 25 crore and, in terms of both the market size as well as the number of users?
Yeah.
The recent circular from RBI about availability of credit lines also, pre-sanction limits from SCBs. Is that going to change your estimate or is?
No, nothing is going to change. आपको मैं एक example, sorry, I didn't get your name. Brilliant, love. What do you want? So credit line is a product like PL, right? Is a PL market and credit card use cases different? Then this target market will exist.
But even in a credit line, you can theoretically have a PNPL kind of a product.
Correct. So credit card market, so that is a 0-day interest product, right? First day, you pay interest. Credit card is, people use it for transactional credit. That's the difference. If you want, I can explain it to you separately also.
Typically, what I've been seeing that the most important aspect is to acquire the customer.
Yes.
Now, how are you guys going about it? That's the critical piece to crack.
So
Just to add to that, the credit worthiness of the customer that's coming on the RuPay card, is he the same customer who was on Visa and Masterclass, doesn't want to use his bank account and wants to do a P2M using RuPay? Or is it a different subset of customers who are coming and accessing credit for the first time? They don't have experience scores which are great, but they probably have a decent trade on salary. How are you evaluating credit from?
So I don't know how many got this question. Mohit, his name is also Mohit, so I'm just relating to it. But he's basically asking how is the target market getting addressed in this ecosystem, correct? So obviously this credit on UPI, remember, is more than a credit, a convenience product is what NPCI has managed to create, right? Let's say I think a lot of you would be from Delhi. Any show of hands, how many from Delhi? तो हम लोग गोलगप्पे खाने गए थे दिल्ली में, and गोलगप्पा वाला doesn't keep a POS terminal, right? So गोलगप्पे वाले के वहाँ भी use हो रहा है, right? That is convenience. Or if a lot of my fintech folks would be from Bangalore, right? There is a नारियल पानी वाला जहाँ पे use हो रहा है ये. So in terms of Maslow's need of hierarchy, abhi jo existing credit card users hai, because there is convenience, is what we are seeing right now. And we expect those customers to come in the ecosystem. Maybe not the premium category, but the middle income group. I don't know which gentleman was, Jitendra was
If I
asking.
may just add to
Yeah.
what you just said, I mean, see, the underwriting policies and all remain of the bank. Okay,
Yeah.
nothing changes because it's CC on UPI. It all depends on the issuer bank. It is their policies. However, there, like I mentioned earlier, there is a huge untapped population which has probably availed credit, but not a credit card. I mean, because credit is more contextual, right? So they have credit, they have a decent credit score, they are in the tier 3, 4 cities. However, they're not comfortable using a credit card. And we have seen those very customers comfortable using UPI. Okay, so I mean, it opens up even for the issuing banks, I mean, to tap these customers who previously hadn't, availed a credit card. So that's how it opens up.
See,
So the new segment would be a credit-worthy segment itself.
See, the credit card का basic premise is जब तक usage नहीं होगा पैसा नहीं बनेगा, correct? That's a basic premise. Plastic issue करने से किसी का पैसा नहीं बना आज तक. And remember, tier 3 to 6 cities, I think there are some acquiring folks also here. Manoj नहीं है ना? Okay, there were some acquiring folks I met. जो terminal penetration है tier 3 to 6 में इतना है ही नहीं. And where QR comes into picture and you can issue card where actual usages can happen, that's the second layer of ecosystem that will come. But as Ipsita is saying, ultimately banks or anybody, अगर मैं अपना भी पैसा दे रहा हूँ, I will not compromise on certain underwriting policies. So for example, 630 score को मैं क्यों दूंगा? Yeah, sorry, you were raising your hand for at least 10 minutes.
Yes, so I just want to ask how it is going to be beneficial for the merchant, because now the merchant is paying fees for the Visa and Mastercard and Amex and everyone, they are paying huge fees, right?
Yeah.
So is it going to reduce the fee on their side when they are using it?
So two hypotheses, I'm not the best person to ask about this, but two hypotheses. You're right now saying that merchant, he was asking whether merchant will be afraid to pay the MDR, right? There is a 1.5% MDR. Now let's classify that into two ecosystems. There is small merchant, right? Less than 2,000 rupees, वहाँ तो होगा नहीं. And mostly
Less than
scan
2,000 and offline.
Less than 2,000 offline. Scan and pay transaction is what we're trying to say. तो वहाँ most likely इतना कोई impact नहीं आएगा क्योंकि उसकी तो जिंदगी वैसी ही चल रही है. Now बड़े merchant में वो already pay कर रहा है same MDR. वो aggregator या जो भी POS का जो distributor है, he's saying कि I will charge you the same MDR. I'm not changing the MDR, right? He's in that ecosystem already doing it. So I don't know. I do not believe there will be any impact on merchants' life because large merchant is aware of MDR, right, on credit card. I don't know if somebody disagrees with me. Small merchant के case में NPC has solved the problem, right? And as of now, we are seeing close to 25% of the transaction on small merchant. None of them have ever said कि नहीं यार ये तो आप credit on UPI से मत करो transaction.
So you're saying basically CC UPI is going to have MDR, right?
It has.
It has to have. It's a regulation.
Not for small merchants like your Pani Puri wala or maybe anybody, kind of less than 2,000 offline,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Less than 500 rupees?
Yeah.
Then
Less
there
than
would be
2,000.
2,500, whatever it is. Right. Then there is no MDR? Above.
Small merchant. You know the definition of small merchant, no? 20 lakh.
If I add to his question, then what do you think how Mastercard and Visa is going to respond here? Because they are already been present in this.
Yeah, I actually don't care about Visa Master.
Sorry, can't change.
She can't hear you. How can I comment on
the
those
regulator.
companies?
That's not something which...
It's not beyond their control or my
It
control.
depends
I'm
on
too small a fish, यार. I'm a startup. मेरे स्टॉल लगाने के पैसे नहीं है, मैं इसका आंसर कैसे दूँ?
being humble.
Sorry, he was raising his hand. Just give me two.
Yeah, so this the new mandate that we are talking about, which is on the UPI, that is the only repayment strategy for repaying.
So there is autopay, and then they just launched another feature, which is UPI card payment through UPI ID. Correct? There is a way to pay your credit card bills through UPI also. Credit card bill payment. The product got launched yesterday.
We launched yesterday.
Yesterday they launched it.
With you, yeah.
Why don't you just go down and they'll help you with it? But there are 2-3 ways to reduce your default rates, if that's a better way of saying. But there are certain categories actually NPCI has smartly excluded on credit on UPI ecosystem. Like rental payments, you can't make through credit on UPI, correct me. So those are high risk categories. They were smart enough to exclude them initially.
So I would request you to come to the NPCI pavilion and we can take you through the proposition in detail.
The problems is that the UPI handle remains the same, but at the background, if the account number changes. So say for example, if on a day if I've opened 3 different bank accounts and use the same UPI handle and with the same mobile number, right? So a e-mandate on account 1 will cease to exist the moment I close that account. The UPI handle might be the same. So that, from so actually what our suggestion from the industry side, I represent a bank, is that, the e-mandate should actually ride on that particular handle and not just on that account. I mean, if something like that can happen, this will perhaps make the,
Why don't you give me your contact details? I know some NPCI product folks. What's your name, sorry? Ashish Gupta, great. Brilliant. So we'll just ping me. I know the product, some product.
We'll tell you how this kind of
can be
is being handled.
Yeah.
So when we spoke about credit, my name is Deepak from HDFC. We have started with the credit card on UPI, but there is a new form factor which credit line on UPI.
Yeah. There was a gentleman
The
pension.
launch is happening.
Yeah. So what is the form factor you are planning to sign it in partnership with banks? Like will it be an overdraft account?
So that is taking shape and form. I think HDFC folks itself are announcing that launch today. But that customer journey, etc., and how will it work like? Most likely it's a PL line. So just let that launch happen. I think
it's a bit
not
premature
a great
to
idea.
talk about that this
अभी
right now.
आप ही का FOMO चला जाएगा, whatever you call it. आप HDFC से वो announcement अभी हो रहा है. मुझे पता है, मैं सब कुछ बता दूंगा. मैं अपने सोशल मीडिया हैंडल पे भी नहीं डाला कि आपका लॉन्च है, हालांकि सारी दुनिया को ओपन सीक्रेट है.
One very small question and clarification. So from merchant side, the QR code remains the same.
Yeah.
Customer can either use account savings account, or he can use a credit
Anything,
card.
yeah.
Now, how does MDR come into picture? So if I use a credit card, merchant will then.
No. So that's the acquiring system play. So जो acquiring bank है या acquiring PSP है, and correct me if I'm wrong, he goes and tells the merchant that अभी आप small merchant हो तो आपको नहीं लगेगा, but आप large merchant हो तो जो आपको this is the MDR. There is a merchant agreement that needs to get signed. So all merchant agreements like corporate card, prepaid card का सबका अलग rate होता है. That's where he acknowledges it.
No, that's true. But I'm saying once he acknowledges and there is an MDR,
Yeah.
say, for example, now the QR code remains the same.
Yes.
Now whether I do it with savings account using UPI or I do it with
QR.
credit card, will MDR be charged even if I do it with savings?
No,
account?
only
Where
credit.
where does this part come to know? I mean, how do we come to know that this is through savings account?
As a customer or as a merchant? As a merchant, so whenever your billing cycle, your statements will have all the details. Like end of day or whenever your settlement cycle happens. But if you're saying कि जब वो scan करके जो sound box पे बोल रहा है कि आपके प्राप्त हुए, वो credit card पे प्राप्त हुए या savings पे, उस समय उसको he won't be privy to.
It disabled by from Bharat Pay or
it's exactly like
we've disabled it. So anyone if he does try to do a 10,000 credit card payment, it does not go through.
So it's like तेरा जैसे तू commercial card लेके गया है, तो एक merchant को पता नहीं चलेगा, right? Commercial use कर रहा है कि credit use कर रहा है, because the plastic form factor is the same. So that's the same situation here. It is the end of settlement cycle that he'll come to know. Yeah, वो settlement button जो दबाया है, in case of QR, obviously it's a. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, after see card transaction, right? I mean, the customer can be using, say, a RuPay debit card, or could be using, say, a Visa credit card or something. The customer doesn't put any restriction, right? Which card you're using, which card you're not using. At the end of the day, it's your, kind of the settlement with the bank.
एक hard stop रख देते हैं, I think, है ना? Ash, is there a hard stop?
One or two more questions.
So 2 more questions, huh? Sorry, they're bothering us.
So, sir had mentioned about the acquiring people from tier 6 and tier 4. But banks have, from the credit card perspective, they already have set of PIN codes where you can only source it from.
Classic.
How do you crack that part?
That is your negotiation with the bank, which is why I said कि तुम HDFC folks ना आके यहाँ बैठो और हम negotiation करते हैं. If you just give us your Swiss bank account to all the fintech startups. There's no way to crack it. It is just reasonable discussion that you need to do. But there's no secret sauce to it. Yes. So last question. Yeah. Let ladies ask. Yes. 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 Correct. No, I don't think so because CC on UPI transaction, you're right, customer behavior is different. For example, we are processing 1 crore, I told you. We are seeing 70 to 80% transactions scan and pay, which is like POS equivalent, which in the POS world, if you see credit card transactions, are typically 40-45% because Amazon and Flipkart take away the major. But those scan and pay transactions, you're right, should come as POS spends. And whether they see it differently or not, I don't think कोई credit behavior में change होता है. But maybe it's a good idea. Maybe there are some bureau folks here, colleagues. Maybe we can pick it up from them. So what do we do? So we are available outside, Ipsita and us, and they will throw us out without lunch. So, and we'll catch up outside. Thank you very much, guys.